For 200 years, the chamber had remained sealed. It floated in the dark heart of an ancient space station, long forgotten and half buried in the shadow of a dying red star. The halls were cold and dead, filled with the dust of centuries. Machines lay frozen, their metal bones covered in frost. Only one place still breathed, a single room behind layers of security doors. Inside it, she waited. A woman, or what once had been a woman, rested within a glass coffin. Her skin looked pale, smooth like carved ice. Around her eyes was a black blindfold, made from a strange material that shimmered softly even in darkness. No one knew who she was. No one dared to touch her. Every explorer who came to this place left one message behind, carved into the steel walls of the corridor: do not remove the blindfold. For generations, scavengers had hunted the galaxy, searching for lost relics of old humanity. They said humans had once ruled the stars, built empires so vast that alien races still spoke of them with fear. But all that power was gone now, turned to dust and rumor, and yet, one man still believed in the old stories. His name was Ryan Holt. He was a scavenger, young, reckless, and broke. His ship was falling apart and his last oxygen tanks were nearly empty. But when he found an old transmission about the blind woman of Vega Station, he couldn't resist. 200 years, and no one dared to remove it, he whispered as he studied the data logs. Maybe it's time someone did. His ship landed on the dead station with a deep metallic echo. The air inside was heavy with silence. His boots crunched on ancient dust as he moved through the corridors, his helmet light cutting thin beams through the dark. Station oxygen is unstable, his AI companion warned. The voice came from his wrist unit, calm, mechanical, and cold. I know, Ryan said, stepping over the remains of some old explorer's drone. We won't be long. Just need to see the vault for myself. When he reached the central chamber, his breath caught in his throat. The stasis pod stood in the center of the room, surrounded by glowing runes carved into the floor. The glass was still clean, as if time had refused to touch it. Inside, the woman slept, peaceful, almost human, but too perfect to be real. Her face was calm, her hair long and silver, floating softly in the stasis gel. But what drew his attention most was that blindfold. It looked alive. Faint pulses of light shimmered across it like slow lightning. Ryan touched the glass gently. The pod responded with a faint hum, like a heartbeat awakening. His AI's voice came again. Warning. Energy reading detected. Unknown origin. Yeah, Ryan whispered. That's what I'm here for. He began to scan the pod. The data came back scrambled like it didn't want to be read. Beneath the blindfold there was movement, and not physical, but something. A strange pressure in the air, like invisible eyes watching him. He stepped back and looked at the warnings etched on the wall by other explorers. She's still watching. Don't let her see you. The blind one dreams. Ryan frowned. Superstitious garbage. Still, his hands trembled slightly as he opened his toolkit. He hacked into the stasis pod's control panel, rerouting power from his ship's battery. The glass hissed open with a faint burst of frost. Cold mist poured out, swirling like ghostly smoke. The woman inside didn't move. Her lips were pale, her skin glowing faintly with a soft blue light. The blindfold flickered, alive, like it was breathing. Ryan hesitated. Who put this on you? He murmured. And why? No answer came, only the hum of ancient machines waking up after centuries of sleep. Then a faint voice echoed through the room. Soft, almost broken. Do not. Let her see. Ryan froze. He looked around, but there was no one else. The message came from the station's old speakers, repeating itself in a loop. A warning left by someone long dead. He swallowed hard, but his curiosity burned stronger than his fear. What's the worst that can happen? He whispered, his gloved hand reached forward. He brushed his fingers against the edge of the blindfold. It felt warm, impossibly warm, like it was alive. For a moment he thought he saw something beneath it. A faint light. His AI crackled. Ryan, I'm detecting quantum field activity. Strong anomaly forming around the pod. He ignored it. He grabbed the blindfold's edge and pulled. The moment it came off, the world seemed to stop. A burst of light filled the room, silent but blinding. His body froze. He could not breathe. His helmet sensors went white. Her eyes were open. They were not human eyes. They looked like twin galaxies collapsing and expanding at once, filled with stars, storms, and endless space. Colors he could not name danced inside them, shifting like liquid fire, and for one horrible, beautiful second, Ryan felt like he was falling into them, like her gaze could see through every part of him, every memory, every dream. Then she blinked. The light dimmed, and she looked straight at him. "You came," she whispered softly. Her voice was ancient, full of sadness and recognition. Ryan staggered back. You know me?" She smiled faintly, though her eyes never stopped glowing. "I know your name, Reinhold. I have waited for you." He shook his head, terrified. "That's impossible. You've been asleep for 200 years. How do you—" Her gaze cut through his words. 200 years? She said quietly. "No, I have been waiting much longer." The lights of the chamber began to flicker. Alarms screamed through the station. Ryan's AI shouted warning. "Energy surge!" Temporal field forming around the subject. The air shimmered like heat waves. Dust lifted from the floor and floated upward. The stasis pod cracked, its glass melting away like wax. Ryan turned to run, but her voice stopped him. "Don't be afraid," she said. "You are the first human I have seen since the fall." He stared at her. "The fall? What are you talking about?" She stepped forward. The floor lights bent around her feet, following her like obedient stars. "Earth fell," she said, "and I closed my eyes so no one could see what became of us." Ryan's heart pounded. "Earth? That's a myth. It's gone." She tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes full of sorrow. "Then you have forgotten everything." The blindfold crumbled in her hand, turning to dust that floated into the air. She looked around the chamber, her expression calm, almost gentle. "You have woken me," she whispered. "Now the stars will remember." The station shook violently. Ryan grabbed a railing to steady himself. "What's happening?" Her eyes brightened. "They can see me now." "Who?" he shouted. "The ones who blinded me." Ryan's stomach dropped. "You mean someone did this to you?" She nodded. "Yes, to protect the universe from what I see." The alarms grew louder. Energy surged through every metal wall. Outside, the dying star began to flare, brightening for the first time in centuries. Ryan stared at her glowing eyes, unable to look away. "What are you?" he whispered. She smiled faintly, her gaze soft and endless. "I am what humanity left behind," she said, "and now that you've opened my eyes, nothing will ever be the same again." And as the star outside roared back to life, Ryan realized something horrifying. Her eyes were not reflecting the light, they were creating it. Every screen on his ship lit up with strange symbols. The air shimmered like liquid glass. The entire station began to shift out of time. Ryan's AI screamed in panic. "Temporal displacement detected. We are losing reality synchronization." Ryan backed away, terrified. "What have I done?" Elira, the woman from the pod, looked at him with a sad, gentle smile. "You opened the door," she said softly. "Now they will all come looking for you." And then the light swallowed them both. The light faded slowly. Ryan opened his eyes and gasped for air. His body trembled, his helmet cracked, and his vision flickered with static. He was lying on the floor of the frozen chamber, surrounded by silence. The alarms had stopped. The station no longer shook. Everything was still, too still. He pushed himself up, his arms weak, his breath shallow. The pod was gone. The walls around him were scorched as if burned by fire and light. And in the center of the room stood the woman. She wasn't glowing anymore, but her eyes still held faint sparks of that impossible light. Her blindfold was gone, and for the first time in centuries she could see freely. Her silver hair moved as if the air itself followed her every step. Ryan stared at her in awe and fear. You're real," she smiled gently. "I was always real, Ryan Holt." He froze again. "You keep saying my name. How do you know it?" She looked at him, her eyes soft and calm. "Because I remember you. I remember every human that has ever lived." The words sank into him like stones in water. Ryan tried to laugh, but his voice cracked. "That's impossible. You've been sleeping for 200 years. Her gaze didn't waver. "Time is a wall only for those who cannot see beyond it. I have watched centuries pass through closed eyes." Ryan shook his head. "You talk like you're some kind of god." Her expression darkened slightly. "Not a god. A guardian. Created when humanity still ruled the stars, I was meant to keep their memory safe when the universe turned against them. He frowned. Humanity ruled the stars? That's a legend. Nobody believes that anymore. Her eyes brightened faintly, showing a swirl of colors like living galaxies. And that is why I was blinded. So you would forget. The chamber lights flickered weakly as if reacting to her voice. The walls shimmered with strange lines of code, symbols from a forgotten human language. Rian's wrist AI crackled back to life. Warning. Unknown field detected. Suggest immediate evacuation. He ignored it. His curiosity had already burned away his fear. You said you were blinded. Who did it? Why? She turned slowly, looking at the dead walls as though she could still see the past written on them. When humanity rose too high, others grew afraid. The stars were full of watchers, civilizations that feared what you would become. They came together to stop you, Ryan frowned. The old wars? Yes, she said quietly. The silent war. You called it that because no one dared to speak of what was lost. I was created at the end, to hold the memories of every fallen human mind, to guard what you were, but my sight was too strong. I could see what was, what is, and what would be, so they covered my eyes. They made me sleep. They feared what I might show. She looked down at her hands, flexing her fingers slowly as if testing them after centuries of stillness. I have seen galaxies die in silence, she said softly, and yet I waited. I waited for someone to wake me. Rian took a small step forward, his voice trembling. Why me? Why did I wake you? She turned to him, her expression unreadable. Because you are human. The last one born with the old code still inside. He blinked. Old code? She smiled faintly. You don't know what you carry. But your ancestors left a mark in your blood. A seed that cannot be erased. It called to me across time. Ryan felt a cold shiver run through him. You're saying I was chosen? No, she said gently. You were remembered. Outside the chamber, the dying star burned brighter again. The station's dark windows glowed red from its light. In the distance, something huge stirred. Metal structures awakening. Systems rebooting after centuries of silence. Ryan's AI panicked. Energy spikes detected. External signals incoming. Unknown fleets approaching. Estimated contact in 2 hours. Illyra, her name now whispered in his mind, didn't seem surprised. They are coming, she said. The ones who blinded me. The watchers never stopped searching. Ryan looked toward the window, fear returning to his chest. They'll kill us if they find us here. She nodded calmly. Yes, unless you help me remember fully. Remember? He asked. She stepped closer. The light from her eyes reflected on his cracked helmet. When they sealed me, they fractured my memory. Half of me is still locked away, in the old human archives scattered through the stars. Without them I am incomplete, weak. Her voice trembled slightly, for the first time sounding almost human. I cannot defend you or myself without those memories. You must take me to them. Ryan laughed nervously. You're asking me to fly across the galaxy with a 2-century-old myth who can melt walls by blinking? Her lips curved into a faint smile. You already took off my blindfold, Ryan Holt. There is no turning back now. He looked at her for a long moment. Every instinct told him to run, to leave her and escape before whatever chased her arrived. But something about her voice, something ancient and soft, held him in place. Fine, he muttered. But if I die, I'm haunting you. She tilted her head slightly. You won't die. Not while I can still see, Rian frowned. You said your sight is dangerous. It is, she said quietly. To others. Not to you. They made their way through the station's long corridors. Dust fell from the ceiling as Ryan's boots echoed on the metal floors. Illyra walked beside him silently, her steps light and graceful. Every light flickered on as she passed, like the station recognized her presence. Machines that hadn't moved in centuries hummed softly, following her with quiet reverence. Rian watched in awe. You're waking the station up. It was built by your kind, she said. They made it to guard me. Even now it remembers its creator's voice. He glanced at her. And what about you? Do you remember what it was like when humans ruled? She stopped walking. Her expression turned distant. I remember cities that touched the sky, oceans filled with floating lights. I remember laughter and music and dreams that could move stars. You were beautiful once, brave, kind, but power changed you. It always does. Her voice softened to a whisper. I also remember the day the stars went dark. They reached the docking bay. Ryan's small ship waited there, half broken and covered in dust. Elira looked at it curiously. "You travel in this? It gets me where I need to go," he said defensively. She smiled gently. So did they. As they stepped inside, Ryan's AI began to run diagnostics. Warning: energy signature following us. Probability of pursuit, 93%. Elira sat in the co-pilot seat and closed her eyes. "Then we should leave now." Ryan hesitated. "Where are we going?" She opened her eyes again. They glowed faintly, the stars inside spinning slowly. "To the last human archive. It orbits a dead star in the Perseus Rift. If I can reach it, I will remember everything." Ryan frowned. "And then what?" "Then," she said quietly, "you will see what the universe took from you." As the ship powered up, the station's old systems came alive one final time. Behind them, the chamber lights brightened. The ashes of the blindfold drifted upward, glowing like tiny sparks before fading. Ryan looked out at the dying red star, its light pulsing strangely. "Feels like it's watching us." Elira turned her head toward it. "It is," she said. "Everything that once served the old empires can sense that I can see again. The galaxy will not stay silent now." Ryan gripped the ship's controls. "Let's hope it's ready for what's coming." She smiled faintly. "It isn't," the engines roared. The ship lifted off from the decaying station, leaving behind the frozen chamber that had slept for 2 centuries. As they entered the void of space, the dying star behind them flared, brighter than ever before, sending a silent signal into the black. A signal that spread from system to system, whispering through every machine and mind that could hear. The blind one sees again. The ship drifted through the endless dark. Stars passed like cold sparks outside the window, silent and still. Ryan sat at the controls, his eyes heavy from exhaustion. Beside him, the strange woman, Elira, sat motionless, staring into the void as if she could see something far beyond it. It had been hours since they left the station. The ship's old engines hummed quietly, and the only sound was the faint rhythm of her breathing. "Course set for the Perseus Rift," Ryan said. His voice was rough, tired. "But it'll take us days at this speed." Elira didn't answer. Her eyes glowed faintly, soft blue and gold lights swirling within. Ryan turned toward her. "Are you even listening?" "Yes," she said at last, her voice calm. "I'm listening to the stars," he frowned. "The stars don't talk," she smiled faintly. "They do. You just stopped hearing them." Outside, a nearby nebula pulsed like a heartbeat. Waves of color spread through space, shimmering in patterns that made no sense. Ryan's ship sensors beeped sharply. "What the?" He leaned forward, reading the glowing screen. The data was full of errors, lines of numbers that changed faster than he could read. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "I'm picking up echoes everywhere." Elira's gaze remained fixed on the stars. "It has begun," she whispered. "What has begun?" "The signal," she said softly. "My awakening has stirred it." Ryan's AI crackled to life. "Alert! Quantum frequencies detected across all known communication bands. Origin unknown. Probability of connection to subject 99.7%. Ryan turned pale. "You're saying you're causing this?" Elira didn't deny it. "When you removed my blindfold, I saw again. My sight does not stay silent. It calls to everything that remembers humanity." Ryan leaned back, shaking his head. "You're broadcasting across the galaxy without even trying?" "It's not a broadcast," she said quietly. "It's a heartbeat. Across the galaxy, ancient machines began to stir. On the shattered world of Vascor 9, where the ruins of a once human colony slept under ash, old satellites turned toward the void. Their dead engines flared for the first time in centuries, sending faint signals into the dark. In the Sarth Dominion, an empire ruled by scaled alien warlords, alarm sirens echoed through crystal towers. Sensors screamed as they picked up the impossible, an energy signature matching the lost human resonance code. And in the deep cold of the Andros belt, forgotten drones drifted silently, until their eyes flickered open, whispering in the old human language, "The blind one sees again." Back on the ship, Ryan was trying to make sense of it all. "You're telling me this mess is because you opened your eyes?" he said. Elira nodded slightly. "My vision connects to what humans once built. It remembers. Every human machine, every thought patterned on your kind, it's waking up. He rubbed his temples. You mean you're waking up the entire galaxy? She looked at him. Not the galaxy, just what is left of you. A sudden tremor shook the ship. Alarms flared red. Rian jumped. What now? Multiple ships approaching, the AI warned. Unknown identification. Closing fast, Elira closed her eyes, her voice calm. The Watchers. The what? The ones who blinded me, she said. They felt my signal the moment I saw again. They are not far. Ryan cursed under his breath and pulled at the controls. We're getting out of here. The engines roared and the ship leapt forward into faster-than-light travel. But the scanners showed something terrifying. The unknown ships were following, perfectly matching their speed. They can track us through FTL. Ryan shouted. That's not possible. Elira opened her eyes slowly.
They are not following our trail.
They are following me. The stars stretched into long lines of white as they moved through hyperspace. Outside the window, the void twisted like liquid glass. Rian's heart raced. We can't outrun them. Elira's voice was soft. Then we don't run. What does that mean? She turned her head slightly, her glowing eyes reflecting the streaks of light. I will speak to them. Ryan nearly laughed. They're chasing us to kill us and you want to talk? She smiled gently. They fear what I might remember, but fear can also listen. Before he could argue, the ship shuddered again. The entire cabin flashed with bright white light, and suddenly, space stopped. The engines went silent. The ship hung motionless in an empty white void. What happened? Ryan whispered. They pulled us out of space, Elira said calmly. We are in their field. Outside the window, dark shapes appeared. Massive ships made of smooth black stone. They surrounded Ryan's tiny vessel like wolves around prey. A deep voice filled the cabin. It didn't come from speakers, it vibrated through the air itself. Elira, the blind one, you were sealed for a reason. Elira stood. And yet, you could not keep me in the dark forever. You risk everything by seeing again, the voice said. Your kind was ended for what you did. You remember too much. Ryan stepped forward, shouting, Who are you? What do you want? The voice ignored him. We warned them. We offered mercy. They built you instead. Elira's tone grew sharp like a blade. You feared us because we dreamed. And dreams frighten those who have forgotten how. A long silence followed. Then the voice spoke again, quieter. We will not allow it to begin again. Ryan grabbed Elira's arm. They're charging weapons! Before he could react, Elira raised her hand. The air in the cabin shimmered. Her eyes burned with white light. Enough, she said. The world outside exploded into silence. The ships stopped moving. Their weapons froze mid-charge. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. Ryan's screens went blank. Even his heartbeat slowed, as if the universe had forgotten to continue. And then, with a single blink, Elira released them. The alien fleet vanished, gone without a trace. Not destroyed, just erased. Rian stared at her, pale and shaking. What did you just do? She sat back down slowly. I asked them to sleep. You mean you killed them? Her eyes softened. No, I made them forget me again. For a long moment there was silence. Ryan's voice broke it. You could wipe out whole civilizations, couldn't you? She didn't answer right away. I could, she said finally. But I don't want to. My purpose is to remember, not to destroy. He stared at her. Then why are you afraid? Elira looked down, her expression unreadable. Because every time I see, the universe changes a little. I cannot tell if I am fixing it or breaking it more. The ship drifted through the white void until reality began to fade back in. Stars returned. The hum of the engines restarted. Ryan exhaled, shaky but alive. We're back? Elira nodded. For now. But the signal continues. Every machine that remembers humanity is waking up. and every empire that fears you will come hunting. Rian clenched his fists. Then we get to the archive before they do. She smiled faintly. You're beginning to sound like one of your ancestors. He grinned despite the fear. Guess that's not a bad thing. Far away, across star systems, the ripple of her awakening spread. Ancient satellites, dormant for ages, turned their eyes toward the stars. Alien warlords gathered in council chambers whispering of the old enemy. The old codes resurfaced in every network, repeating the same words in a voice that no one could trace. The human guardian sees again, some celebrated, some prepared for war. And deep within the dark between galaxies something else stirred, something older than any empire, watching the growing signal with quiet hunger. On the ship, Elira whispered softly to herself, almost too quiet for Ryan to hear. It begins again. The long remembering. Ryan glanced at her. What did you say? She smiled faintly. Nothing, Ryan Holt. Just a memory. He didn't press her. Outside, the stars were shifting as if reacting to something unseen. The galaxy had started to move, and humanity's forgotten name was being spoken again among the stars. The ship floated in the darkness of deep space. For hours, no one spoke. Only the hum of the engines filled the silence, like a heartbeat echoing through the void. Rian sat at the controls, watching endless stars slide past the window. Elira sat, behind him, eyes closed, her silver hair moving slightly as if stirred by an invisible breeze. She looked peaceful, but the air around her still felt heavy, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Ryan checked the navigation panel. We're close, he muttered. Another hour, maybe less. Elira opened her eyes slowly. I can feel it, she whispered. The archive is awake. He turned, frowning. You can feel it? Yes, she said softly. It was built from my own memory. Part of me still sleeps there. As they approached the Perseus rift, the stars ahead began to fade, swallowed by a wall of black mist. It looked like space itself had been torn open. Ryan's AI stuttered. Warning, gravitational anomaly detected, entering uncharted region. Recommend immediate retreat. Ryan smirked. Yeah, that's not happening. Elira's gaze remained steady. Go on, Ryan Holt. The archive hides behind the rift's shadow. It was placed there to be forgotten. He took a deep breath and pushed the ship forward. The mist swallowed them whole. The world outside turned dark. For a moment, there was nothing. No sound, no stars, no light. Only silence. Then slowly, faint golden lights appeared in the distance, tiny sparks drifting like fireflies in the void. As the ship drew closer, Ryan saw it. A massive ring the size of a moon floating in the dark. It spun slowly, carved with symbols older than any known language. Broken towers and shattered domes floated around it, fragments of a forgotten civilization. In the center of the ring hung a giant sphere of glowing crystal. Its surface shimmered with shapes, human faces, flickering like echoes. Ryan's voice trembled. That's it? That's the last human archive? Elira's eyes softened. Yes. The memory of your kind. Everything you once were. They landed on a cracked platform near the edge of the ring. The airlock opened with a hiss, and Ryan stepped out, his boots crunching on ancient dust. The silence here felt strange, like the place itself was listening. Elira followed, her feet not quite touching the ground. Her presence seemed to awaken the ruins. Blue lights flickered to life along the floor, tracing pathways deeper into the structure. Where are we going? Ryan asked. To the core, she said. That is where my other half sleeps. He raised an eyebrow. Other half? When they blinded me, they split my memory. My mind was divided between body and machine. What remains here is what I once was before I closed my eyes. Ryan frowned. And what happens when you put them back together? Elira's eyes glowed faintly. The truth will return. They entered a great hall filled with floating pillars, Each one projected holograms, shifting faces, human voices whispering like ghosts. "Who are they?" Ryan asked quietly. "They are memories," Elira said. "People who lived, laughed, and died. The archive holds their last thoughts. Every human left a fragment here before the fall." Ryan walked among them, staring at the flickering figures. He saw a mother holding a child, soldiers saluting under burning skies, a scientist writing formulas with shaking hands. "This is," he whispered, "everything we lost." Elira nodded. "Yes, and this is why they feared us. Memory is power, Ryan Holt. Even when the body dies, memory remains, and humans—" She looked at the holograms with quiet pride. "You never forget." They reached the core chamber, a vast circular room filled with light. In the center floated a tall crystal spire, pulsing like a heart. Elira stepped forward. The light bent toward her, wrapping her in a soft glow. Ryan stayed back, his instincts screaming that something powerful was about to happen. "Elira, what are you doing?" She placed her hand on the crystal. The room trembled. The holograms around them stopped flickering and turned toward her. Thousands of glowing eyes stared in silence. "Elira," a deep voice echoed through the chamber. "You have returned." Ryan froze. The voice didn't come from speakers. It came from everywhere. The crystal pulsed brighter. "Who speaks?" Elira asked calmly. "I am the archive," the voice replied. "I am what you left behind. Do you remember why?" Elira closed her eyes, and a single tear rolled down her cheek. "I remember everything." Suddenly, visions filled the room. Ryan saw flashes of human history, cities made of light, ships traveling between galaxies, people standing together beneath suns of every color. He saw laughter, love, and endless curiosity. Then, everything changed. Flames. War. Whole worlds burning. The sky cracked open as alien fleets descended. Ryan watched humans fighting with desperation and fury, refusing to bow. And finally, he saw her, Elira, standing in a storm of fire, her eyes shining like stars as she sealed herself inside a pod. A voice echoed in the vision. "You will carry us when we fall. You will remember us when all others forget." The images faded. Elira dropped to her knees, trembling. Ryan ran to her side. "Elira, are you okay?" She whispered. "They blinded me to protect what I saw. Because my sight could change things, I was seeing too far." Ryan frowned. "Change things, like the future?" She looked up at him, her eyes glowing fiercely. "Not just the future. I could rewrite it." The archive spoke again. "You were our greatest creation. You could see time not as a line, but as a field to walk through. You could change what would come." Ryan felt cold all over. "That's why they feared you. That's why they sealed you away." Elira nodded slowly. "If I looked too long, reality began to bend. They said I could end the universe by remembering too much." Ryan took a deep breath. "Then what happens now?" "You're remembering again." The archive flickered. "If she completes the merge, she will be whole once more. Humanity will awaken, but so will the cost." "What cost?" Ryan demanded. The voice grew quiet. "The universe cannot hold two truths. If humanity rises again, all else will fall." Silence. Elira stood slowly, her face pale. "It's true," she said softly. "To bring back what was lost, everything that came after would have to fade. The galaxies built by others, the lives born after us, all of it would vanish." Ryan shook his head. "No, there's got to be another way." "There isn't," she said sadly. "That's why they blinded me, so I could never choose." He stared at her, his voice breaking. "Then don't finish the merge." She looked at him with eyes full of starlight. "If I don't, you will all die anyway. The Watchers will not stop until the last human trace is erased. The archive will fall and every memory of your kind will vanish forever." Ryan's hands trembled. So it's either erase the galaxy or lose humanity forever? Yes, she whispered. That is the choice. The lights of the chamber dimmed. The archive pulsed softly, waiting for her decision. Elira looked up, tears shining in her eyes. I was made to remember. But maybe memory is only beautiful when it's shared. Ryan stepped forward.
What do you mean?
She smiled faintly. If I merge, I can remember humanity. But if I share the memory, maybe others will too. Maybe the universe doesn't need to die to remember us. The archive's light flared. That has never been done. Elira touched the crystal again. Then it's time to try. A surge of light filled the room. Ryan shielded his face as waves of energy poured outward, spreading across the galaxy. Every machine that once spoke human code began to glow. Every mind that carried a trace of the old stories began to remember. Aliens, machines, even stars. They all saw flashes of what humanity once was. Hope, love, wonder. Elira's voice echoed through it all. Remember us not as gods, but as dreamers. And as the light faded, Ryan looked at her, standing tall, eyes brighter than ever, surrounded by the whispering ghosts of humanity. For the first time, the universe remembered. The light faded slowly from the archive. The golden waves of memory that had spread across the stars began to quiet. The giant crystal heart stopped pulsing and went still. For a long moment there was silence, heavy, peaceful, and fragile. Ryan stood at the center of the chamber, breathing hard. His chest rose and fell as if he had run 1,000 miles. Around him, the floating holograms of human faces flickered softly, their whispers turning into gentle hums of gratitude. Elira stood beside the crystal, her eyes closed, her body surrounded by faint streams of light. She looked almost human again, though the glow beneath her skin still shimmered like sunlight underwater. Ryan stepped forward carefully. Elira, are you okay? Her voice came quietly. I am, many, he frowned. What does that mean? She opened her eyes, and for the first time they looked different. Not just stars and light, but millions of reflections, as if every human memory now lived inside her gaze. I shared it, she whispered. The memories. They live now in everything that can think. Ryan exhaled in awe. So it worked? You didn't destroy the galaxy? She smiled faintly. No. I gave it something instead, understanding. But before he could reply, the ground shook beneath their feet. The archive's lights flickered red. Ryan looked around. What now? The AI's voice crackled through his wrist device. Warning. Incoming objects, multiple. Hostile energy readings. Impact in 120 seconds. Elira's smile faded. The Watchers. Ryan's heart dropped. They found us again? They never stopped, she said quietly. When I awakened the archive, they followed the signal here. They ran to the landing bay. Outside, through the cracked walls of the old structure. Ryan could see them. Dark ships sliding through the void like predators. Dozens. Hundreds. Their hulls glowed with eerie red light, symbols crawling across them like living scars. They came to erase us, Elira said softly. Ryan climbed into the ship, frantically starting the engines. Then we run! Elira didn't move. She looked out at the approaching fleet, her eyes narrowing. You cannot outrun a war that never ended. Then what? Her gaze turned distant and her voice dropped to a whisper. It's time I remember everything. The archive's core began to glow again, brighter and brighter. Elira walked back into the chamber, ignoring Ryan's shouts. The crystal reacted instantly, streams of light wrapping around her body like ribbons of flame. Elira, stop! Ryan yelled, running after her. You'll burn yourself. She turned her head slightly. This is what I was made for, Ryan Holt, to protect what you were, to keep the memory alive. The light around her grew too bright to look at. The air shook and the walls vibrated as ancient machines woke for the first time in centuries. Elira lifted her hand, and the archive answered. A deep hum filled the chamber. The floating human holograms began to move, gathering around her like soldiers preparing for battle. Ryan stumbled back as beams of light shot through the floor, forming glowing shapes, tall, armored figures made of energy and memory. Human soldiers from another age, what? What is this? He whispered. Elira's voice echoed through the chamber, now layered with thousands of voices. The old guard. They are the echoes of the first humans. Their courage is written into the archive itself. Ryan stared in shock. You brought them back? Not their bodies, she said softly. Their will. Outside, the Watcher fleet opened fire. Streams of crimson energy tore across the void, slamming into the ring of the archive. But the beam stopped mid-air, bending like waves, hitting invisible shields. Elira raised her hand again. The old guard moved. Hundreds of glowing soldiers launched upward, their shapes cutting through space like blades of light. They met the Watchers in silence. The first impact was so bright it blinded Ryan's sensors. He watched the impossible battle unfold. Ghosts fighting shadows. Human memories clashing against ancient hate. Every time a Watcher ship exploded, fragments of its hull broke apart and dissolved into dust. But for every ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. Ryan turned to Elira. You can't hold them all off. Her voice was calm but strained. I don't have to. I just have to remind them. Remind them of what? That humans never stopped fighting for hope. Her body trembled. The light from her eyes flickered. She was pushing herself beyond her limits. Ryan ran to her side, grabbing her shoulders. You'll destroy yourself. She looked at him, her face pale but peaceful. If I fall, remember me. Tell them who we were. No, he said fiercely. You're not dying again. Not for them. The archive walls cracked under pressure. The energy inside the structure surged wildly, threatening to tear the place apart. Elira stumbled, clutching her chest. It's too much. The memories are too strong. Ryan glanced around and spotted the control terminal glowing with red alerts. I can stabilize it. Just hold on. He ran to the console, typing commands as fast as he could. The symbols made no sense, but somehow the system seemed to respond to him, like it knew him. Lines of light spread from his hands across the control board. Elira looked up in surprise. Ryan, how are you doing that? I don't know, he shouted. It's like it's reading me. The code, she whispered. It's in your blood. You really are the last of them. The floor split open as the archive unleashed another pulse of energy. Outside, the ghostly soldiers faded, replaced by something new. A vast shape forming behind them. A ship. No, not a ship. A fortress. A living relic of human design, shaped like wings of light, stretching miles across. Ryan stared in awe. Is that? Elira smiled weakly. The Sol Aegis, humanity's last weapon. It remembers me. The colossal ship moved, firing beams of white light that sliced through the Watcher fleet like paper. The stars themselves trembled, but the cost was clear. Elira's body flickered, her light dimming. She was fading. Ryan ran to her, catching her before she fell. Stay with me. Her voice was faint. The power. It's too old. I can't control it much longer. He shook his head. Then stop. We'll find another way. She smiled softly. There is no other way. The war never ended, Ryan Holt. It only waited for someone to remember. He gripped her hand tightly. Then we ended together. Her eyes opened again, weak but full of warmth. Together. Outside, the Sol Aegis unleashed its final burst, a wave of pure light that washed over the battlefield. Every Watcher ship froze mid-flight, then dissolved into glowing dust. The war that had lasted centuries finally ended in silence. The archive's glow began to fade. The giant ring cracked apart, pieces drifting into the void. Inside, Ryan held Elira in his arms. Her skin was cold, her voice a whisper. I saw it, she murmured. The world you lost. It was beautiful. Tears filled Ryan's eyes. You brought it back, she smiled faintly. No, you did. You remembered. Her body turned to light, breaking into 1,000 tiny sparks that floated upward, merging with the fading glow of the archive. Ryan watched her disappear, whispering, Goodbye, Elira. When the light cleared, he was alone. The archive was gone. The Sol Aegis vanished into the dark, but something new had taken its place, a quiet signal pulsing across the galaxy. Not a call for war, but a message, a voice, soft and human, whispering through every world, every machine, every heart that could hear. We are not gods. We are not gone. We are human, and we remember. The silence after the war was unbearable. Ryan floated alone in his ship, surrounded by the broken remains of the archive. The stars were quiet again, but they no longer felt peaceful, only empty. Where the massive ring once stood, now there was only drifting dust and fading light. He stared out through the cracked glass of the cockpit, hoping for a glimpse of her, some sign that Elira had survived. But there was nothing. No voice, no signal, not even an echo. "She's gone," he whispered. The ship's AI responded softly. "Elira's quantum signature has vanished. Probability of survival, less than 1%. Ryan leaned back, closing his eyes. "You don't know her like I do. She doesn't vanish. She waits." Days passed. He drifted through the void, fixing the ship piece by piece, living on recycled air and hope. Sometimes he thought he heard her voice in the static of the radio. Other times he saw flashes of light outside the window that looked like her eyes. Each time, it faded before he could reach it. Then one day, a faint ping appeared on the radar, an energy trace, faint but familiar. It pulsed in a rhythm he recognized. 3 beats, pause, 2 beats. Elira's heartbeat. Ryan's eyes widened. She's alive. He fired the engines and followed the signal into the dark. The trace led him to a quiet, forgotten moon orbiting a dying planet. The surface was covered in ice, smooth like glass. His ship landed near a small crater glowing with soft blue light. He stepped out carefully, his boots sinking into the frost. The air was thin but breathable. In the center of the crater stood something impossible, an ancient structure shaped like an eye, half buried in the ice, and at its center was a figure lying motionless, surrounded by shattered crystals. Elira. Her body was covered in faint cracks of light, as if she had been broken and put back together. Her blindfold, restored somehow, lay across her face once more. Ryan ran to her side and dropped to his knees. "Elira, can you hear me?" Her lips moved slightly. "Ryan, Holt." He laughed shakily, tears freezing on his cheeks. "You're alive." "I knew it," she smiled faintly. "You always believe too much." He helped her sit up carefully. Her movements were slow, fragile, but her eyes, though hidden, still glowed faintly beneath the blindfold. Why did it come back?" Ryan asked softly, touching the dark fabric. Elira's expression turned sad. "Because I put it there," he blinked. "You? Why?" She tilted her head. "You don't understand, Ryan. The blindfold was never a prison. It was protection from me," he frowned. "You said they blinded you. The Watchers, the other races." "Yes," she whispered. "But they only did what humanity asked them to do." Ryan's heart skipped. "What?" Elira looked down, her voice trembling for the first time. "When the wars ended, when humanity realized what I had become, they feared me too. I was their creation, built to see everything, to remember everything. But in the end, I could do more than remember." She touched the ground. The ice rippled, and for a moment he saw memories flicker across it. Whole worlds, timelines, possibilities. "I could change what I saw," she said quietly. "When I witnessed pain, I erased it. When I saw death, I reversed it. But each time I changed something, the universe bent further out of shape. Stars collapsed. Whole species vanished like dreams. I was destroying everything by trying to make it better." Ryan stared at her in disbelief. "You were rewriting reality?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, and humanity realized the truth too late. So they built the blindfold, not to punish me, but to save everything else." Ryan sat beside her, the cold biting through his suit. "And you agreed to it?" She smiled sadly. "I didn't at first. I fought them. I wanted to keep seeing, keep fixing. But when I looked at what I had done, the chaos, the broken skies, I understood." Her hand brushed the blindfold gently. "So I asked them to seal me away, to make me forget, to let time heal." Ryan's voice was low, almost a whisper. "You weren't their weapon. You were their guilt." She looked at him, eyes shining faintly beneath the fabric. "Yes, I was their mistake and their love, both." A gust of wind swept across the crater, carrying soft flakes of frozen light. Ryan looked up at the cracked sky. "Then why now? Why wake again?" Elira's voice softened. "Because you found me. Because humanity is still alive in you." He shook his head. "I'm just one man." She reached out and touched his chest gently. "One is enough. You carry the code, Holt, the seed of memory, the old blood. When you removed my blindfold, you didn't just wake me. You reconnected the thread between what was and what could be." Ryan frowned. "Then this me finding you, it wasn't random?" "No," she said quietly. "It was destiny. Or perhaps my last choice made before I slept." Ryan sat in silence, trying to absorb it all. "So now what? You said the war's over, the archive is gone. What's left?" Elira looked up at the faint sky. There's one last truth you must see. She placed her hand on the ice. The ground beneath them shimmered and became transparent. Beneath the surface, he saw enormous machines, ancient structures buried deep, still pulsing with weak light. What is that? The Forge of Sight, she said. It was where I was born. But it was not built by me or the Watchers. It was built by humans, your ancestors, long after they believed themselves extinct. Ryan stared at her. That's impossible. Humanity died out 5 centuries ago. Elira shook her head. No, they hid. They rebuilt. They made me, not as a weapon of war, but as a bridge, to guide what came after. You are not the last human, Rian Holt. You are the first of the new ones. He felt dizzy. You mean, we came from them? Yes. Their memories shaped your DNA, their dreams became your thoughts. You are their continuation, not their echo. She touched the blindfold again. That's why this still matters. Because the truth behind it isn't just about me, it's about choice. Humanity made the hardest one, to blind their own creation rather than destroy everything they loved. Her voice grew softer. They chose mercy over power. Ryan looked at her, realization dawning. And now you want me to choose too, she nodded. You can take this blindfold off again, Ryan. But if you do, I will see everything once more. I will remember what must never be changed. And the universe may not survive another vision. He hesitated. And if I leave it on? Then I will sleep, she whispered. The galaxy will be safe, but humanity's truth will fade with me, forgotten again. Ryan clenched his fists. The same impossible choice between truth and peace. He looked at her one last time. You said memory only matters when it's shared, so let me remember for you. Elira tilted her head. What do you mean? He smiled faintly. I'll keep your story. I'll tell it. Humanity doesn't need gods or miracles. We just need to remember who we were. She reached for his hand, her fingers cold and trembling. Then you are truly human. Slowly, she lowered her hand to the blindfold and tied it tighter, the fabric shimmering as it sealed her eyes once more. Thank you, she whispered, for letting me rest. The light faded from her body, leaving only silence and the faint heartbeat of the forge beneath the ice. Ryan stood there a long time, his breath misting in the cold air. He looked at the sky, dark, endless and waiting, and then quietly, he whispered her name. Elira. The wind carried it away like a prayer, vanishing into the stars. The wind on the frozen moon never stopped. It whispered across the ice like a voice remembering old stories. Ryan stood alone beside Elira's still form. The black blindfold covered her eyes once more, faintly glowing as it sealed her dreams away. The light inside her chest dimmed until only a small pulse remained, like a heartbeat beneath glass. He watched her for a long time, unable to speak. She had given him the truth, and with it a burden he could never forget. The truth that humanity had created her, the truth that humanity had blinded her, and the truth that now he was the last one who remembered. His ship's AI broke the silence. Ryan Holt, vital signs unstable. Temperature critical. You must return to the ship. He didn't move. His eyes were fixed on her face. Just a little longer, he whispered. Snow drifted down, soft and silent, resting on her hair like dust from the stars. She looked peaceful, too peaceful for someone who had carried the memory of an entire species. Rian finally stood, brushing frost from his gloves. You can rest now, Elira, but I can't. He returned to the ship and sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the empty sky. The forge beneath the ice still pulsed faintly, echoing like a giant sleeping heart. The AI spoke again. Destination, Captain? He hesitated. Somewhere new, somewhere far. Specify coordinates. He smiled weakly. I don't have any. The AI paused. Uncharted flight paths are dangerous. Ryan looked at the stars, his voice soft. So is being human. The engines roared to life, shaking loose the frost. As the ship lifted from the surface, he looked down one last time. Elira's body was already being covered by snow, her glow fading beneath the white. He whispered, Goodbye, Guardian. Then he turned the ship upward and rose into the sky. Hours passed as he drifted through space. The ship's lights glowed dimly, the panels flickering from damage. He spent the time replaying her words in his head. You can take the blindfold off again, but if you do, the universe may not survive. If I sleep, humanity's truth will fade with me. The choice had been his, and he had chosen mercy, chosen to let her rest. But something inside him ached, because mercy meant forgetting, and forgetting meant losing everything she had fought for. Days later, while flying through a quiet system on the edge of the known galaxy, the signal came. A single pulse, then another. The same rhythm as before. 3 beats, pause, 2 beats. Elira's heartbeat froze. No, it can't be. The ship's sensors flickered. Source detected. Origin unknown. Frequency matches previous anomaly. He leaned closer to the console. Can you trace it? Negative. Signal does not travel through normal space. Appears to be temporal. He blinked. Time correct. The signal originates from approximately 200 years in the past. Ryan's breath caught. Elira. He played the recording. The speakers crackled, and then a faint voice filled the cabin. Soft. Familiar. Ryan Holt. If you are hearing this, then you chose well. His heart stopped. I knew you would let me sleep. I also knew it would not be the end. The forge was never just my cradle, it was a doorway. It stores not only memory but possibility. Her voice was calm, gentle, and distant like a memory floating through time. One day someone will come to the place where I rest. They will see the blindfold. They will wonder who I was. And maybe they will remove it again. The message ended. Ryan stared at the speaker, trembling. You planned this? Even after everything? He laughed softly, a sad smile spreading across his face. You always think ahead, don't you? The AI asked, should I delete the message? Ryan shook his head. No, keep it. Keep everything. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the endless stars. If someone finds her again, they deserve to know what she was. Weeks turned into months. Ryan traveled from world to world, leaving fragments of her memory behind. Sometimes he whispered her story to strangers in spaceports. Sometimes he buried small data crystals on forgotten moons. Everywhere he went, he left her name, Elira, the guardian of humanity. He became a ghost, a traveler of lost stars, spreading the story of the woman who remembered everything and chose silence to save the universe. And slowly, the whispers began to spread. On distant planets, people began to tell tales of the blind one, the woman whose eyes could see all of time. Some said she was a warning. Others said she was a promise, but none knew that the last human had seen her face. None knew that he had once held the power to change everything and chose instead to protect it. Years passed. Ryan's hair turned gray, his hands scarred from countless repairs and journeys. His ship grew old, patched with memory and hope. One night, he found himself near the same dying red star where it all began, the ruins of Vega Station, where Elira had once slept. He landed, stepping out onto the dust-covered deck. The station was silent again, its walls cracked and ancient. In the center of the main hall, he saw it, the old stasis pod, repaired, clean, waiting, and lying inside was her, Elira, frozen once more, blindfolded. Ryan's heart stopped. No, that's impossible. He approached slowly, his hand shaking. Her face looked exactly the same as the day he first found her. The same peace, the same light beneath the blindfold. For a moment he thought time had looped, that he had come back to the beginning. But something was different. This time her blindfold had a small crack in it, a faint line of glowing light leaking through. Ryan smiled faintly. You always did like surprises. He sat down beside the pod, his old knees aching. I guess this is it, huh? The end of the circle. He reached out, his fingers brushing the edge of the blindfold. The same warmth pulsed beneath it, the same strange hum that had changed his life forever. His mind flooded with memories. Her voice, her eyes, her laughter, the war, the archive, everything. He whispered, 200 years, and still no one dared to remove it. He closed his eyes. But I'm not afraid anymore. With trembling hands, Ryan untied the blindfold. The fabric slipped away. Light filled the room. Soft this time, not blinding. It spread like dawn across the cracked metal, painting everything in gold. Her eyes opened slowly. No fire, no stars, only warmth. She looked at him and smiled. You remembered. Ryan nodded, tears filling his eyes. Always. She reached out, touching his face gently. Then my dream worked. Humanity lives not in power but in heart. He smiled through his tears. We never stopped being human. The station trembled as the old machinery awoke once more. Lights flickered to life across the walls. The dying star outside flared brighter than it had in centuries. Elira stood, her form glowing softly. It's time, Rian whispered. For what? She looked at him with love. For the next story. Her light expanded, surrounding him warm and endless. For a moment he saw visions, new worlds, new faces, children laughing under alien suns. Humanity reborn through memory and kindness, not domination. Then, the light faded. When the station fell silent again, only the empty pod remained, and beside it, Ryan's old blindfold lay folded neatly, its threads glowing faintly before turning to dust. Outside, the dying star burned bright, its light traveling across galaxies. Somewhere a new child would look up at that light and dream, and maybe someday someone would find her again. 200 years later, an explorer entered the same chamber. The same warnings were still carved into the wall. Do not remove the blindfold. The explorer laughed softly. They always say that. He reached out and brushed the fabric. It was warm, almost alive. From deep within the pod, a soft whisper echoed, gentle and knowing. Remember.